Good evening, Who Dat Nation, and happy Wednesday, Bayou Blitz family. We want to thank you all for your patience as we have juggled our schedule the last couple of weeks. But we are back at our regularly scheduled bat time and bat channel. And for those of you joining us live, hello and welcome back. For those of you that are catching us on the rebound, after the live performance, hello and welcome back. And with that said, my name is Bob Rose. I'm one of your co-hosts of your Bayou Blitz podcast. His name is Brendan Boylan. He is the other half of your Bayou Blitz podcast. Brendan, I've been disappeared for almost a week. Sorry, how do they term other things now? I've been unappeared for the last couple of weeks. So it's good to see your smiling face again too.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm jealous because you got to disappear off to a magical land of sunshine and beaches and all that, while I disappeared to just like the normal 9 to 5 office desk job. So I think you definitely won the past week. Congratulations on that. You look a little fan as well. And I've already seen, vacation photos posted on socials. So it looks like you and the family had a wonderful time. And I do want to kind of give you the floor here to start to kind of brag about your experience. I know we don't have dates for next year quite yet.
Right.
But go ahead, brag about the experience. Tell people what they missed out on. Tell people that you saw, how wonderful it was to see them. And just give us a little bit of a footnotes version of what the Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise was like here in 2026.
And thank you for that. Folks, that's where I have been, for most of the last week, with the Get Checked or Check Out annual Go Black and Gold charity fan cruise. This year's excursion was in the Bahamas. For those of you that missed it, I feel bad for you because you really missed out on a great time. For those of you that went, so wonderful to see you. We don't have enough time for me to say hi and thank you to everybody. But the main eventers of the week were Saints greats, Tyrone Hughes, Michael Lewis, Courtney Roby, and a surprise addition to this year's, surprise last minute addition, to this year's trip was Randall Gay, Super Bowl champion cornerback for the Saints and the New England Patriots, but that part's not important. You guys, and you brought your families too. You fans, and again, too many of you, to mention in such a short show, which I feel bad for because every single one of you deserve a specific mention for not only your participation, in the yearly event and particularly this year's, but just how welcoming you all were, to myself, to my family. My daughter Brianna got to come, with Lauren, Will, and myself this year, and I think her and her friend Marissa had a blast as well. It seems like everybody did. A little bit different kind of trip than what has happened in years past, but literally every single minute was just out of this world fun. I try every week when I talk about Get Checked or Check Out, when we promote this event, I try to talk about it as best I can, but words can't really do it justice, folks. This is something that you need to come to. You will not only have the experience of a lifetime, it will make your year and cause you to set aside money to go on this trip every single year. That is pretty much a guarantee. And you're benefiting such a great cause in Get Checked or Check Out. Have a peek at their website. It's at the bottom of the screen, tcynow.org. They were put in place a great special thank you to Shireen as well, the co-founder of Get Checked or Check Out, more than a dozen years ago. She and Regina and Reham, you guys worked so hard to put this together, and really it's a thankless job. you guys are the very definition of charity, in giving up your time, your energy, and in many cases your resources, especially you, Shireen, to put this together. And keep that in mind, folks. And when you go to that website, donate a little bit, because every tiny bit helps. And like Brendan said, we don't have the dates for the 2027 trip event yet, but we are at the Bayou Blitz. We are going to continue to promote that. And we're going to do it in a few different angles this upcoming year too. But Get Checked or Check Out was set in place over a dozen years ago to help guide people and their families through a difficult medical diagnosis, whether it's a research option, treatment option, or therapy option. They helped out nearly 2,700 cases in 2025, and we are goaling to significantly increase that number this year. But to do so, we need your help. And the Go Black and Gold charity fan cruise is the major fundraiser that they do every year. And like I said, how can you beat helping out such a wonderful charity with wonderful people, and in the process treating yourself to a once in a lifetime experience? I mean, I have yet to do my my social media photo dump from the trip, but a lot of you have already. And it's just all of us were intermixed, like a big giant family reunion. I have great pictures. Tyrone Hughes brought his daughter. Courtney Roby brought his wife and daughters, as he always does. Got to meet Randall Gay's wife. Michael Lewis brought family members. Mike Lewis was on the beach with Will going through training exercises. Tyrone took Will down to the arcade, and they were competing against each other for more than a few minutes. And I'm proud to say that Team Courtney Roby took second place in the putt-putt golf tournament this year. It was a very close tournament. Michael Lewis came in first, Courtney Roby second. I am not sure whether Randall's team or Tyrone's team took third, but literally there was only a few strokes separating each team. Mike Lewis nicknamed me Happy Gilmore during the course of the tournament. I'm not going to call fix, but let's just say we all had a difficult time with the course this year, but it was all in great fun. And like I said, we're all wearing our second place medals around proudly all this week.
Did I hear Mike Lewis won yet again?
Yeah, you did. And I gotta take. It's a little bit better quality than the Zapruder film, but I gotta take a closer look at it. I do believe that I saw Mr. Lewis kind of shuttling the ball along on one of the impromptu pictures, but I have to take a closer look at it before I throw out any accusations.
Well, look, going to second is quite the improvement. There's only one more thing to do next year, and that's to win the whole thing. So, hey, we'll take improvement. But Mike Lewis, little fishy, my man, little fishy. We just went through a whole year promoting this cruise. And just about every single Saints great that's on that cruise kind of called you out. Now, maybe, they hate us because they ain't us, right? Maybe they're just mad. Maybe Mike's really that good of a golfer. I cannot confirm. I haven't been golfing with Mike yet, but I don't know. Just a little fishy. Just keep that in the back pocket. It sounds like everybody had a wonderful time. It's always nice to have a little bit of a surprise guest pop up, and hopefully Randall had a great time on the trip as well, and becomes a regular of the Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise. I know we're missing some regulars this year. Lance Moore, who is just becoming more and more popular in these media circles, man. I tell you what, Lance is really killing it with all that he does and the multiple things that he does. And I know our friend Delvin Bro also missing the cruise is he is I'm not even sure. I don't know if he's awaiting or or if baby number 2 has already arrived. But I know that we were playing the cards pretty close in terms of the due date and the day the ship is sailed, and you don't want to find yourself in like a bad rom-com movie where you're on a boat, all the way out at sea, and you got to find a way back to be there for the birth of your child. That does sound like a good rom-com. Somebody write that down real quick. Thomas Manning, if you're watching, I know you are. Go ahead and write that down. But hopefully next year we get the gang back together in full, and me included. Hopefully we can get something worked out and get me on the boat. But it sounds like you guys had a wonderful time.
We did.
Like you said, Bob, I know there's more pictures coming from you, from Shireen, from everyone that was on the cruise, and I look forward to seeing more photos of the fun. On one hand, on the other hand, I hate that you guys are rubbing in that you guys had so much fun and that it was much warmer because like yourself, I do love the warm weather much more than the cold, much more than the pollen infested air that I've been breathing for the last week and a half. So just a little jealous, Bob. That's all I'm getting at. Let's transition into what's been taking place as of late for the Saints. Obviously, it is a slower part of the offseason after we had quite the start to free agency. You get a little bit of a lull here between free agency and the draft. You call this like phase. I guess we're technically in like phase 3 of free agency at this point. Maybe just exiting the second phase of free agency and entering phase 3. Then you get the draft, and you get the final phase of free agency where you're really just trying to fill out your roster for training. So we were in a little bit of a lull part of the offseason, but there were still headlines made, and there were still a lot of things going on.
Before you step in to the big name, I had to laugh because you were the first person that I thought of when I saw the news. You know where I'm going with this?
I knew exactly. When you stopped me, I knew exactly. So
No. I mean, I think we text a little bit privately, but we have not been on the air. But the Saints, Brendan has been predicting that the Saints would be signing a veteran backup quarterback. I mean, make no mistake, this job is Tyler Shuck's. That is 99.99999% sure. But Brendan, Mr. Boylan has been calling and predicting for the Saints to sign a veteran backup quarterback to either take the job from or at least provide competition for the number 2 spot with Spencer Rattler. So, Brendan, I'd like to get your public thoughts on the Saints signing quarterback Zach Wilson.
Yeah, so the first one was just kind of, because that's not the type of quarterback that, yes, I've been asking for a veteran quarterback, but Zach Wilson was not the type of veteran quarterback that I had been kind of pressing for. I do think it's interesting. I do think that the Zach Wilsons of the world, the Trey Lances of the world, are guys that maybe were given up on too quickly. And even Zach Wilson had a little bit of a stretch for the Jets where it was like, okay, it wasn't great, but he at least said, hey, look, I'm a serviceable option, which, if anything, prolonged his career a little bit longer in New York because of, well, it's New York. It's tough to make it in the New York scene. He was a part of some weird rumors, and we'll stay away from the off the field stuff. But yeah, not what I expected. But again, going back to the whole maybe he was given up on too quickly, I've always had a soft spot for these guys who are deemed to be draft busts, and they're still like 25 years old. I've always liked, hey, what if you pick up a project guy and just see what's there? And this is kind of like a no risk, all reward situation where Shuck's going to be your starter, but maybe Wilson comes in and really wows you. Whether he wows you in the quarterback room and is just a strong voice, an intelligent mind, whether he's a guy that wows you on the field itself, or to your point, Bob, is true competition for Spencer Rattler, and a guy that I think you could probably compare to Spencer Rattler in terms of some of their play styles as well.
Mm-hmm.
I understand maybe why, but it still makes me sit there and go, well, is this it? Or are you going to bring in another quarterback into camp? Because I still feel it's you could look at it as the glass half full or the glass half empty kind of situation. I feel like the glass is half empty because I'm still not getting true veteran leadership. You could look at it as a glass half full because it's another guy who is youthful, has some NFL experience, and could step in and play if you absolutely needed him to. But I don't see it as that much of an upgrade over Spencer Rattler in terms of like play. And I don't see it as that much of a upgrade from Spencer Rattler in terms of experience. Like without even pulling up, Football Reference or anything, Zach Wilson's got less than 25 starts in his career, probably less than 20. And has won a handful of games,
maybe
like
a
single
handful.
So I don't know what type of anything that brings you. So that's kind of where I stand. Is like I guess, like, I don't hate it, but I certainly don't love it. And I know other people who don't love it are all the people in the world that have been sitting on mountains of Zach Wilson rookie cards, hoping he was going to get a second chance somewhere. Because this is not the place where he's going to get a second chance to ball out, as the kids like to say. It's going to be a second or third chance for him to just sit.
And listen, and it's for that reason why I don't see any reason to get overly worked up about it, either in a positive or negative way. And you just saw what Sam Darnold was able to do with the Seattle Seahawks. And even last year with the Minnesota Vikings, he got an opportunity to start because of an injury to J.J. McCarthy. And you've seen other high draft picks, kind of wash out at least a little bit, certainly with their original team, and have a resurgence somewhere else. Baker Mayfield comes to mind. I'm sure that there's a couple others that I haven't thought of. I mean, even back in the day, Vinny Testaverde, former #1 overall draft pick, bombed out with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and had ended up putting it together a nice career, especially with the New York Jets, but a couple other teams as well. So you never know what could happen. It's not like the Saints paid a lot of money or invested any heavy capital in Zach Wilson. So if he wins the #2 job, and say, knock on wood, something happens to Tyler Shuck, and Zach gets a chance to play, maybe he does have a Sam Darnold or a Baker Mayfield type of resurgence. Each of those guys that I just mentioned, Darnold and Mayfield, when they moved on from their original teams, they were signed as backups, just as Zach Wilson was just inked to by the Saints. And a series of unfortunate events gave them a chance to be starters again. You certainly don't want that to happen for Zach Wilson in 2026, because that means something happened to Tyler Shuck. But you see the Saints thought process here. And this is why you were saying all along you'd like to bring in, for the Saints to bring in a veteran a backup with experience. To bolster the position a little bit, if not on the field, then certainly on the sidelines and in the film room. Because Zach Wilson has a couple more years of NFL experience than Tyler Shuck. That couple years of experience, albeit mostly bad, it's still experience. Even I joke around with friends asking for relationship advice, or people, friends asking for parental advice, and I joke and I say, well, I'm an expert on what not to do. So, if nothing else, Zach Wilson can pass along that knowledge. And like we said, it's nothing to get overly worked up about, positively or negatively, because the Saints didn't invest a lot of money. They already have, in theory, they already have their quarterback. They're just looking for a little insurance, and they're going into it with the thought process of, if we can develop him, we might really have a find here.
So I was wrong. 33 career starts for Zach Wilson, 12 wins in 33 starts.
That's about 4 or 5 more than I thought he had.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't realize that he started 13 games as a rookie for the Jets. I didn't realize that a few years later he started 11 games for the Jets. Now, given to your points, not all very good. Never had a double-digit passing touchdown season. Led the league in sack yardage as a rookie. Was sacked 44 times for 370 yards. And then his last year as the starter in New York was sacked 46 times. He was sacked on roughly 1 of every 10 dropbacks.
Wow.
Like that. In Zach Wilson's defense, what are you to do in that situation? But I digress. To your point, there's no need to really analyze this any further than, what, they're taking a swing on a guy who's still, 25, 26 years old, was the number 2 overall pick, and may show you something. Like I said, whether it be on the field, off the field, in the film room, like there's a lot of ways you can impact culture and impact winning without being the starter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's been plenty of examples over the years that have proved that. You look at certain players who were career-long backups for the same quarterback that ended up winning multiple championships. Jim Sorgi for the Indianapolis Colts. God, he was the lifelong backup to Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that guys like that stay around, because they can impact in multiple ways. Or even think about for the Saints. I mean, Mark Brunell was such a valuable asset in 2009 as a veteran leader, as the backup quarterback. Speaking of veteran leaders, 2 veteran leaders for the Saints, their futures are kind of up in the air at best. We've spent some time talking about Cameron Jordan, but we have not spent as much time talking about Alvin Kamara. Both of them came up over the last, 2 weeks, as you said at the beginning, kind of juggled our schedules in conversation or within the press when it came to questions asked to Saints head coach Kellen Moore. I want to start with Alvin Kamara because it's the more recent comment. And he was asked, I guess, kind of at like a Radio Row recently about, can he envision Kamara and the artist formerly known as Etienne, HN, can you envision a backfield where they coexist? And he essentially, just to paraphrase, said yes. Like that's kind of the plan, is to have Kamara back and them share the backfield. Which, before we dive into our own analysis, I'll just kind of give you guys a little sprinkle of my analysis. Is like, I don't quite know how that's going to work. It's going to be very interesting. I have some thoughts, some ideas on how it could work. But those comments felt very forced Bob, and it's a coach speak thing. I mean, you can't really sit there and be like, no, we don't have the intentions of bringing. Like, he's under contract. You know, you have to kind of play along, whether you are bringing him back or you're not, or he's stepping away. I know that's been a rumor over the last few weeks. Like, maybe Kamara's retiring from the game altogether. I know you wrote an article about his, kind of season in review and kind of hinted like he had a bad year this year in what could potentially be his last. Am I reading into this too much, or is it accurate to be like, I don't know how I feel after Kellen Moore's comments one way or the other?
I don't want to say that you are reading too much into it, Brendan, because if I said that, then I would kind of be doubling back or backtracking on what I have been saying since the end of the year, well before free agency and when the Saints did sign Travis Etienne. We had been saying on this show, that we felt like the Saints would pursue a top level back, whether it was in free agency or a guy like Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame in the first round of the draft. So, the signing of Etienne itself should not have taken anybody by surprise, did not take either one of us by surprise. Because I had been saying things like, well, I'm not predicting it, I'm still not, but I'm finally ready to give some credence to the Alvin Kamara could be traded rumor mill. I never thought that there was anything more than 0.5% chance in years past when the lazy ass national media said, oh, Kamara is going to be traded to this team or that team. No, was never going to happen. This year it could. Because I think he can still play. Although I do believe he's declined as a player. And B, it's just as clear that Kellen Moore wants to kind of turn the page to the next chapter in this offense, which obviously is Tyler Shuck. We assume is Chris Olave, and we certainly believe now is Travis Etienne. There is still a place for Kamara in this offense. I agree with what Kellen Moore, or I concur with what Kellen Moore said there. Now you could read into it that he didn't seem over the hill excited about, oh my God, I'm going to have Etienne, I'm going to have Kamara in the same backfield in the same offense. So many things I want to do, like a John Gruden or a John Caliendo performance of John Gruden, type of excitement. But if you think about it, Moore isn't a real outwardly excitable guy anyway. So yeah, some of that was coach speak about, if we're moving on from Kamara, I'm certainly not going to tip my hand, because if we're looking to trade him, that obviously significantly lowers his trade value. But at the same time, he's also not the kind of guy like even Sean Payton. If Sean Payton had Sean Payton did have a two-headed backfield in Ingram and Kamara, that it was pretty clear that Payton's wheels were turning. You could almost see the smoke coming out of his ears. Kellen Moore's not that type of personality. So I'm not going to accuse you or anybody else of reading too much into it. I still believe that Kamara is going to be on this roster for 2026, in a reduced / different kind of role. But it also still wouldn't be surprising if we heard a couple days into the draft or the weekend of the draft, Alvin Kamara has been traded for draft picks A, B, and C or whatever.
Yeah. Now let me play the other side of the coin or play this hand a different way. The way that I could see this working is kind of rewinding the clocks to 25 years ago, where you had a true third down back.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's all Kamara was at that point, really just like a specialty back. I don't know if that's a role he really wants to take, but being 31 years old, is that right? 31 at this point?
31 in July. So, yeah.
Yeah. So 31 by the start of next season. Do you really have a lot of options to be the featured back anywhere anymore?
True.
This is since 2019, this is the third or fourth consecutive season that's been cut short to injury. Maybe not consecutive, but you guys get what I'm saying. Over the last 5 or 6 years, there's been more that have ended because of injury than not.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably the best thing for his career. I think it's the really safe like radio answer to be like, well, Denver would be a really interesting place to see Kamara, and like that would be the very easy answer to go because of how Sean Payton utilized him. I don't see this being like a Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara type of backfield. If Kamara's on the roster, I see it being Travis Etienne, HN, Junior's backfield and Kamara sprinkled into it. Of course, we've been begging for it for what feels like a millennium of, hey, like Kamara can play receiver too. Split him out, get creative. They could still use him in that space.
Yeah.
Remember, he signed a 2-year extension. Some of that's cap relief. I don't know all the details on when it voids and all the craziness of that, though we haven't seen that at all this year, which is like a nice change of pace. It's a little refreshing to not have any of these free agents come in and sign these wild deals that don't make sense to the average human being. But the Kamara extension, it's tricky as well because just like the average Joe that's working in a corporate office job, maybe you're in sales like I am. And you sit there and before you know it, they hired another salesman. Now you guys are going to be splitting the territory. You guys are going to be making similar money. But they want the new fresh face to go and find the new clients, find the new business, be a little bit more of the face of the company while you take a little bit of a back seat and maybe mingle with your normal clientele. That's kind of how this feels potentially where, hey, Achan's going to be the new face here. And Kamara, we appreciate you. You're the all-time leader in multiple categories. But we're going to still just have you kind of do these specialty things and mingle with these folks. That's not the way I wanted it to end. But I also think it's fair to say, and I think you and I both wrote about this during our Sports Illustrated days as well, is that in 2001, early 2002, it just seemed as if the end was closer than the beginning for the Alvin Kamara chapter. And some of this is prolonged over the last few years. And I'm not ready to close the book on it. It's just kind of been this weird, unsettling might be a dramatic word, but it's been just this weird energy where I feel that Kamara is like this ultra loyal dude, which I have so much respect for, but it's almost like ultra loyal to the point where it's damaging both parties, where maybe it is more healthy to just have a clean split. Now, as someone who's covered his career and a fan of the team, I don't want to see that. But it almost feels like all roads have kind of pointed towards that over the last few years. And it's almost like a game of chicken where it's like, well, I don't want to break up with you. Well, I don't want to break up with you. And that's kind of where we sit today. Now, if they come out in the fall and they have this killer offense and they figured out how to utilize him, all of that goes away. But I think so much of this also is the lack of utilizing him correctly, which, again, the last millennium you and I have talked about on this show and in our writing. I think those go hand in hand. So, again, if they come out in the fall and they've properly utilized Alvin Kamara at 31 years old, then a lot of this conversation goes away. I think a lot of this conversation happens because we've been through multiple offensive coordinators that have not figured out the way to use this guy correctly.
Yeah, and honestly, I think some of that is on Alvin too. Alvin is coming. Now he only played 11 games, really 10, because the one game he got hurt, and he got hurt very early on. So he played in a career low amount of games. So I wasn't looking at overall rushing yardage, overall receptions, overall receiving yardage, because that doesn't do him any justice. What I was looking at, and what I used, these are the numbers that I used to back up in my year in review article on Alvin, was he averaged a career low in rushing yards per game, a career low in receptions and receiving yards per game, an abysmal average per reception, and a career low in touchdowns, and second fewest rushing attempts per game, with the fewest being his rookie year when Mark Ingram was still the featured back. So those are the numbers that I focused on. And Alvin Kamara defenders will say, and they have a point, well, this was such a bad offensive line. You and I have both said together and separately, the play calling and the usage of Kamara, you don't run a back like that up the middle 20 to 22 times a game and only give him like 3 opportunities outside the tackles or in open space. That's not the way you use them, yet that's the way they have used them, especially over the last 3 or 4 years. But Kamara has been the face of this offense for quite a few years now, certainly since the retirement of Breeze. So it's on Kamara to produce too. And you and I have openly questioned his effort, or at least from our seats, what appears to be his effort. So those things, they go on Alvin. And is that a player in decline? Is that a player that's kind of disenfranchised because of the way he's been used, and because of the losing seasons? Maybe it's a combination of everything. Irregardless of the reasons, and again, I think it is a combination of everything that we just said, the Saints very clearly and correctly thought we need to find a new featured back. They did so early in free agency, decisively so. So although the Kamara chapter might not be at the end, as far as the New Orleans Saints are concerned, it certainly feels like we're at best, we're in the last couple pages of this Alvin Kamara chapter.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Are we in the last chapter of Cameron Jordan, though? Those comments, I think I felt worse about. Right? Again, more coach speak, like very coach speaky. Oh, we would love to have him back. This, and this. But nothing was definitive. Nothing felt, I don't know. It didn't seem like a very hoorah, like kumbaya type of thing, which again, I mean, Kellen Moore is not expressive in comparison to the Sean Paytons of the world. I mean, Dennis Allen had the personality of a sack of potatoes, but at least I saw a little bit of like a little bit more in terms of interacting with the media when it came to Dennis Allen as well. to where sometimes I feel like Kellen Moore is like as vanilla as it gets. So I guess I got to kind of take some of these comments with a grain of salt. But again, it didn't seem very much like like we absolutely want Cam back. We're excited to, do this, and we're excited to do that. He's such an integral part of, this franchise and the city and blah, blah, blah. Like, it didn't feel like that at all. It just kind of felt like got to respect Cam for, going through the process. We'd love to have him back, but whatever Cam chooses to do, it is what it is. That's kind of what it felt. It just felt like that. I don't know. It felt like that stoner bro. We were talking to the stoner bro about life, right? And he's just like, it's all gonna be fine, man. Like, you just got to go out there and, do whatever you think is right, bro. Like, that's what it felt like. And I was like, that's not what I want to hear when we're talking about a guy who is on the Mount Rushmore of New Orleans Saints. I want to hear, even if it's other coach speak, I want to hear we've had some really good conversations internally with Cam and his representatives, and we respect Cam and his representatives and, the process that they're going through, but we felt like we've had some really productive conversations, blah, blah, blah. Just something with a little bit more optimism than just, we'd love to have him back. Yeah. Because that's what it felt like. And I know I'm paraphrasing, but that's exactly, to me, that's what it felt like. Was just like, the offer's on the table. We're not going to be pushy about it. If he wants the offer, great. If he doesn't, that's fine too. That's what it felt like. And that didn't make me happy.
And I don't blame you. It saddened me too, only because, like you, I am a giant Cam Jordan fan as a player and as a person. But I feel like here, Kellen had to take a different approach than what he did when he was asked about Alvin. As you pointed out, Alvin Kamara is still under contract. He is still officially a New Orleans Saint. So that affords you the opportunity of being very black and white coach speak. Cam Jordan is not under contract, and as painful as this is to say out loud, he is not currently a New Orleans Saint. So with that, you almost have to take more of a business approach, a supply and demand. If you talk Cam Jordan up way, way, way too much, and here's the fine line, you talk him up way, way, way too much. Well, guess what? Cam's representatives are saying, you know what? You just said all this about me publicly. You need me. Your defense can't exist without me. I take you to another level. You got to pay me more money if that's the way you feel. But you can't do the flip side either. And, we wish Cam well. We're moving on without him. You say that too black and white, you're going to piss him off. Now, maybe he feels like he doesn't. He's not wanted. So then you say, you just said all this. You don't really need. You say publicly you don't need me. So I feel disrespected, and now you come to me behind closed doors wanting to sign me. Guess what? My price tag just went up. Cam's a businessman too. I think with Cam, and Jordy Hultberg and I talked about this a little bit yesterday morning. I'm still in Bahama mindset, folks. Mentally, I'm not back. I think it's now reached the stage where unless someone wows him with an offer, and I'm not just talking finances, Cam has talked about, I want to be paid what I feel like I'm worth, and he does mean it. But Cam also wants to play. He wants to go to a place where he's going to play. He still believes he can play at a high level. After last year's performance, it's tough to argue that he can't. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good edge rushers available in this year's draft. A couple of the teams that could be in want of Cam Jordan's services Kansas City Chiefs come to mind. At least that's the rumor. New Orleans Saints, certainly. And a few others. Arizona Cardinals have been rumored as a possible destination for Cam. Alvin Kamara, too, might I add. All these teams are in need of edge rushers. Well, Cam Jordan's a free agent right now, as we all know. If the Saints, the Cardinals, the Chiefs all draft an edge rusher in the first round, guess what Cam sees? He sees less of an opportunity for playing time. One of those teams, more than one of those teams, or others out there, don't draft an edge rusher in the first or second round. Cam sees an opportunity now. Hey, you still have a little bit of a hole on your roster at this pass rusher position, or at a more traditional 4-3 defensive end position. I think Cam Jordan, I now think it's reached the stage where Cam Jordan does not get signed until after the draft. He's still in touch with teams, the Saints undoubtedly, in my mind, being one of them. Again, the Chiefs being rumored, other rumors being floated around. If they wanted him that badly, he'd already be there. Just like Cam, looking at these teams, saying, I'm going to see where they go in the draft. These other teams, if the Saints don't get an edge rusher in with the 8th pick or in the second round, now suddenly, if Cam Jordan is still out there, he's awful enticing to bring back. Chiefs don't get an edge rusher. Cardinals don't get an edge rusher. Cardinals. We need a boost. We need a new face, albeit temporary, for our defense. The Bills. The Bills insanely think that they're still just a piece or two away. They don't get an edge rusher in the first or second round. Cam Jordan, you want to go chase a ring? Kansas City. You want a team with Chris Jones? We did not pick up an edge rusher in the draft. So I don't think Cam gets signed until after the draft now. I think we've reached that stage with him at free agency. But I also think, as I just mentioned, for Cam, it is more than just about the money.
Yeah, I think at this point of his career, too, you're looking at things and coming to the realization that you don't have many years left. I think if we're being brutally honest, 3 is probably the most.
Max, yeah.
Like max. And that third year could very well be you're not playing many snaps type of year. So you're looking at a couple things. You're looking at your last and final payday in the NFL. You're looking at where's my best opportunity to play. If that's the most important for some people, it's about trying to get a championship. For others, it's about playing as long as you can, the most amount of snaps you can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure, championship aspirations have to be on his mind. Putting himself in the best chance to not just play, but also win a championship. I mean, you're going through all of those things. I said when we came onto the show that we're entering stage 3 of free agency, and stage 4, the final stage, is after the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right. You're kind of lurking into that territory where Cam would be smart to wait. I'm confident he has multiple offers.
Mm-hmm. Or at least interest from multiple teams.
And it's, hey, if they're still interested and I can sit and wait it out, and, without sounding, I don't know, without sounding like the big head in the room, if you're the Saints, I think there's always going to be mutual interest for him to want to come back. So if anything for Cam, maybe that's like a safety net of like, hey, I know the Saints will bring me back if I don't get what I'm looking for. But I think it's where we stand today. And it's still just a lot of uncertainty for both guys. I think I feel more confident with Alvin being in the black and gold, come training camp. But Cam, I think, is a true 50-50 toss-up at this point. And maybe even less than 50-50. I think for Alvin, you're probably at like a 60-40, 70-30 I think a lot of it depends and will be shown in what the Saints do in the draft, along with all of the other backs that are on the roster right now.
Well, and that's a couple of the draft pieces, draft profiles that I have put out, and folks, there's more to come. Obviously, I was well off the grid, for like a 5-day stretch there, but I've already published a couple articles on running backs, projected day 2 or early day 3 running backs. And I've gotten responses like, oh yeah, the Saints just signed ATN and they still have Kamara. They're not going to draft. They're not going to quote unquote waste a pick on a running back. Feed your brain, ladies and gentlemen. I look at this running back room and on paper it looks great. I just signed Travis Etienne. I still have Alvin Kamara. I'm excited about Devin Neal. Audric Estime gave me something nice at the end of the season, and we know the explosive potential of Kendre Miller. Then you look at the flip side of all that. Yeah, I just signed Etienne. He's been a little bit inconsistent, productive, but maybe not at the elite level. Kamara, we've talked about in big chunks tonight, potentially declining player. Where's the fit for him if he isn't the featured back? Kendre Miller just got hurt, as I said this sentence. Devin Neal, I like, but I haven't seen enough from yet. So you look at the flip side of all that. Why wouldn't the Saints look to draft a running back? Jeremiah Love, I feel like, is off the table now, even if he is there at number 8. And that pains me to say because I love this kid as a player. But you look later on in the draft, I love the Penn State duo of Katron Allen or Nick Singleton. Would love either one of them. A lot of you guys like Mike Washington from Arkansas after what he did at the Combine. Big Roman Hemby fan out of Indiana. Jonah Coleman out of Washington, same thing. So there are running backs. A couple of those guys I would expect to be available in early day 3. So I mentioned the possibility of a Kamara trade around the draft. You get another back you really like. You draft a back in day 2, even in the 3rd round. I think it's almost certain you move away from Kendre Miller. And now suddenly moving Alvin Kamara before training camp, trading Alvin Kamara to a team that didn't get a back that they wanted in the draft. I mean, there's all sorts of this is shaping up to be a very exciting and highly eventful offseason.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it says a lot that these 2 dominoes have not fell yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say we're just getting started because they've made some awesome moves already. But like you said, Bob, it can still get very exciting nonetheless. Well, it was nice to get back in the saddle, as they say. It's nice to see that you're alive and well and didn't decide to just stay hidden on a boat or like hide out in the kitchen or something. I don't know.
You know what? It was tempting, but I ran out of money. So
that's why you hide out in the kitchen. At least you got food, right? You can just kind of hop island to island. I don't know. You would have figured it out. I know you. I mean, Lauren and Will probably would have been a little concerned after maybe, I don't know, like 24 hours. Like, where'd he go? I don't know. It depends if they could have got home. Maybe they would have got to home before they realized, but I don't know. But nonetheless, it's good to see and speak to you and get, like I said, get back in the saddle. I know you're getting back in the saddle in terms of, as you said, publishing some pieces. You've only published about 25 profiles so far. So what you need another probably 75 to get to where you were a year ago. You got time.
Yeah, it's a stretch. But as you always refer, I have my notes on these prospects. So
handy dandy.
It's just having the time and the energy to convert notes into a readable and hopefully educated or educated sounding article. But I'm going to be cranking them out. My hope is minimum of 3 to 4 a day from here on through the draft. But make sure you follow my work over on the Saints Wire or USA Today. As I always do, I publish all of our show links and all of my written articles on my Facebook profile, Bob Rose, or my Twitter persona at BobbyR2613. And, folks, go to tcynow.org. That's the Get Checked or Check Out website. Brendan and I will keep you updated as soon as we get the dates for the 2027 trip, the Go Black and Gold charity fan cruise, the 2027 dates, and when you can make your down payment. I want you guys, all you guys, to go next year. Trust me, you're missing out on such a great experience. Like I said, it's not just meeting these guys. And I'm not just talking about the players either. I'm talking about their families. I'm talking about Renee, Kay, Michelle, Kathleen, Jude. I could go on and on and on and on. Like I said, it's just we don't have enough time, for me to mention everybody who had such a big influence on us. For not only this year but the last couple of years now, and they are lifers on this thing. It is one big. When I say we took over, Nassau, the Nassau side of the Bahamas for a day, I mean we truly took it over. And how many events where you get to meet a professional athlete, current or former, where you could say a guy like Tyrone Hughes took your kid to the arcade, and Michael Lewis put your child through a one-on-one workout on the beach. We didn't get to any beach volleyball events. I still think y'all are ducking me. Didn't have a tug of war, didn't have a karaoke contest, which I'm a little bit bummed about. But that's just how busy we all were together. That's how much fun we were all having together, that it was like we were all just chuckling and laughing and goofing off, that then all of a sudden, oh my God, we ran out of time to do this, we ran out of time to do that. That's how busy and how much fun we're having. I hate that all you guys are missing out. I want you guys to go next year, but first and foremost, I want you to help Get Checked or Check Out Shireen, the site, tcynow.org. Check it out. And I'm going to tell you something too. The details are still being worked out. There's a Paris trip coming up that's going to be sponsored by Get Checked or Check Out, and a few more events, and I mean a group Paris trip, where a couple of these players are going to. We're still working out the details. I will fill y'all in on that. But there's a couple individual game day charity events that are coming up too. In other words, the cruise, this trip is still going to be the biggest fundraiser, but we are in the process of organizing more. And I need y'all. I want y'all, and I need y'all to be a bigger part of this.
Absolutely well said. For myself, you can follow me just about everywhere right there at BT Boylan. Bob and I will be in touch with all of you, as we always are, about some of these upcoming events and trips. I'm still going to throw my suggestion in the hat. I would love to do an away trip, selfishly, here to my neck of the woods in Charlotte for the upcoming season. I think it'd be fun. It's not that far of a trip. Obviously, a lot of people make the trip from New Orleans to Atlanta. Not that much further to go up to Charlotte. So I'd like to throw that out there for all of the people in power, if you will, that are watching tonight. Really glad to hear everybody had a good time, and looking forward to continuing to not just, sponsor our friends over there, but also get some of our friends on to talk about their experiences from the trip as well. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in with us this Wednesday evening. It was nice to kind of get back into the swing of things. Bob and I will have more as we are officially in draft month. Time flies when you're having fun, which means for Bob and I, it is one of our favorite times of the year, but it also means you are going to be seeing us more this month than you probably will any other month. So you guys buckle up, get ready for that. And until next week, that's Bob Rose. See, I had to point both ways just in case. I've already forgot which way I need to point. That's Bob. I'm Brendan. Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of the Bayou Blitz podcast. Until next week, find some peace, spread love, practice positivity. See you then. Who dat?